Hello everyone and welcome to my Y&R Insider 24 update channel. Point 7 of the Young and the Restless characters who could stage an intervention for Phyllis. Monday's episode of The Young and the Restless was filled with heavy-hitting drama when Phyllis crashed Christine's bachelorette party. Phyllis just can't seem to stay away from her longtime archenemy, cricket, and let bygones be bygones. Phyllis, on the other hand, felt ripped to the core when Christine referred to her as crazy. Maybe some of GC's residents should stage an intervention for her to talk her into seeing a therapist. Here are 7 characters who could team up for the intervention. Michael and Lauren on The Young and the Restless. Tracy Bregman and Christian LeBlanc as Lauren and Michael on The Young and the Restless Image, CBS. Michael's representation of Sharon after Daniel's girlfriend Heather was murdered may have caused Phyllis to end their friendship. But Phyllis and Michael have begun to make some strides toward mending fences. In addition, Phyllis has a long history of being a close friend to Michael and Lauren. No matter what issues may keep them apart from her, they will always love her and have her best interests at heart. Jack Abbott. On The Young and the Restless, Peter Bergman portrays Jack Abbott. Image source: CBS. Even though Jack and Phyllis are no longer a couple, he will always care about her. She will always be read to him. There was even a time when he thought he was Summer's father. Hunter King portrayed Summer at the time. Despite Nick turning out to be her father, Jack has always had a soft spot for Summer, and that's because he would have loved to share a child with Phyllis. She was one of his greatest loves. Jack and Phyllis may not be in each other's orbits anymore, but if other characters asked him to join them in an intervention for her, he would lend a helping hand. He doesn't like to see his ex struggling emotionally. Sharon and Nicholas. Joshua Morrow and Sharon Case as Nick and Sharon on The Young and the Restless Image, CBS. Nick and Sharon might be able to help Phyllis with an intervention if they weren't currently in Los Angeles dealing with the effects of Noah's car accident. Nick and Phyllis may be frustrated with each other at the moment because she's working for Kane, but Nick always has her back. They used to be married, and they share a daughter. Nick wants Phyllis to be happy, successful, and mentally healthy by overcoming her inner demons. Sharon used to be one of Phyllis' enemies, but since Martin Laurent kidnapped them and held them prisoner together, they worked through their issues and helped each other survive. Sharon understands firsthand the post-traumatic stress disorder Phyllis is struggling with. She lived through it, too. Kathy Abbott Beth Maitland as Tracy Abbott on The Young and the Restless Image, CBS. On Monday's episode of The Young and the Restless, Tracy was the only woman at Christine's bachelorette party who defended Phyllis by showing her some grace, understanding, and empathy. She reminded the other ladies that Phyllis had recently been through a traumatizing experience, having been kidnapped and psychologically tormented by Martin. Tracy and Phyllis had a drink at Society a few weeks ago and talked about how they were both trying to get over the hurt Martin had caused them. Phyllis opened up to Tracy and admitted that she has nightmares all the time because of that horrific experience. Tracy obviously remembered that heart-to-heart talk, and that's why she stood up for Phyllis at the party. Tracy is one of the kindest, most fair-minded characters on Y&R. She isn't judgmental, and she always tries to understand other people's perspectives. She would be an essential source of encouragement and support throughout any intervention. Daniel Romalotti. Michael Graziardi as Daniel on The Young and the Restless Image, CBS. Despite his mother's overbearing nature, Daniel loves her and always thinks of her best interests. He would gladly join the others in encouraging Phyllis to pursue therapy. She could learn relaxation techniques, coping mechanisms, and strategies for coping with her PTSD from a therapist. On The Young and the Restless, Phyllis doesn't seem to realize how many people love and care about her. She could explore and hopefully break her pattern of jealousy toward Christine and Danny and her overzealous need for everyone in GC to appreciate her skills and talents during some therapy sessions. Those therapy scenes would provide Michelle Stafford with great dramatic material, which would give her some excellent scenes for her real submission with the Daytime Emmys next year. On CBS and Paramount Plus during the week, you can watch all new episodes of The Young and the Restless. In Monday's episode of The Young and the Restless, longtime fans were treated to the kind of raw, emotionally charged drama that has defined Genoa City for decades. Phyllis Summers, a character who has walked the fine line between heroine and troublemaker for years, once again found herself at the center of chaos when she crashed Christine Blair's bachelorette party. The moment was Phyllis at her best, impulsive, emotional, and tinged with pride and hurt. When Christine, her longtime rival and nemesis, called her crazy, it wasn't just an insult, it was a deep, cutting reminder of how far Phyllis has strayed from stability and self-acceptance. That one word, crazy, seemed to start something in her, revealing layers of unresolved trauma, jealousy, and emotional turmoil from years of betrayal and heartbreak. For decades, Phyllis has been one of Wyndar's most complex characters, a woman of passion, intelligence, and fierce independence who too often becomes her own worst enemy. This episode's dramatic confrontation underscores that perhaps what Phyllis needs most is not another feud or revenge plot, but an intervention, a circle of people who love her enough to pull her back from the edge. If such an intervention were to happen, there are 7 characters in Genoa City who could stand at its heart, blending compassion, history, and truth to help her heal. Michael Baldwin and Lauren Fenmore, the loyal friends who never gave up. Michael Baldwin and Lauren Fenmore are 2 of the few constants in Phyllis' turbulent life. Portrayed by Christian LeBlanc and Tracy Bregman, this power couple shares a bond with Phyllis that transcends temporary fallouts. There was a time when Phyllis cut ties with Michael after he represented Sharon Newman in court following the murder of Daniel's girlfriend, Heather. That betrayal was deeply personal to Phyllis and was yet another blow to her pride and loyalty. But as with many relationships in The Young and the Restless, time and compassion have slowly begun to mend the rift. Michael and Lauren's friendship with Phyllis is a testament to enduring loyalty. They have witnessed her at her worst, when she was consumed by rage and vengeance, as well as when she was charming, witty, and full of life. For an intervention to work, Phyllis would need people who see beyond her erratic behavior, who can speak to the woman underneath the chaos. Michael, with his calm intellect and deep sense of morality, could remind her that redemption is always possible. Lauren, who is well known for her compassion and grace, might be able to provide Phyllis with the kind of loving but firm support that she so desperately requires. Together, they embody what real friendship looks like, the ability to confront someone's darkness without abandoning them. Jack Abbott, the eternal romantic and emotional anchor. Jack Abbott and Phyllis Summers have a relationship rooted in passion, heartbreak, and unspoken understanding. Even though they are no longer a couple, the chemistry between them remains palpable. Jack will always see Phyllis as Red, his affectionate nickname that captures her fiery spirit and unpredictable heart. Played by Peter Bergman, Jack has been both Phyllis' lover and her conscience, the man who loves her deeply even when she pushes him away. There was once a time when Jack believed he was the father of Phyllis' daughter, Summer Newman. Jack's love for Phyllis and Summer never wavered, even though it turned out that wasn't the case and that Nick was the biological father. That emotional history has bound them together in ways neither can truly escape. Jack is Phyllis' calm during her storm. In an intervention, he would be the steady voice, compassionate, patient, and non-judgmental. He has endured his own share of heartbreaks and moral failings, which makes him uniquely capable of understanding Phyllis' self-destructive tendencies. Despite all the pain she has caused him, he continues to care deeply for her, perhaps because he recognizes that beneath her impulsiveness lies a woman haunted by insecurity and trauma. He would bring healing and grounding to an intervention. It would remind Phyllis that love, even when it changes form, can still be a lifeline. The past, pain, and the power of empathy. Nick and Sharon Newman, even when they were at odds, Nick Newman has always been a stabilizing force in Phyllis' life. Their relationship was passionate, volatile, and full of contradictions. Their daughter, Summer, was their child as well as their partner. Despite their breakups and betrayals, Nick still sees Phyllis as family. His desire for her to heal and find peace is not born out of romantic obligation but out of shared history and genuine concern. Currently, Nick and Sharon are away in Los Angeles, dealing with the emotional aftermath of their son Noah's car accident. Yet, if they were in Genoa City, both would likely play vital roles in any intervention for Phyllis. Nick knows Phyllis better than most, her impulsive streak, her need for validation, and her fierce independence. He would want her to face her demons not with shame but with courage. His approach would be gentle but firm, reminding her that vulnerability is not weakness, and that seeking help doesn't mean surrendering control. Sharon, on the other hand, represents a different kind of ally. She and Phyllis had been sworn enemies, but in recent years they have made an uneasy peace. Their bond deepened after they were kidnapped and held hostage together by Martin Laurent, a traumatic ordeal that left lasting scars on both women. Sharon understands the depths of psychological trauma, having faced her own battles with mental health and post-traumatic stress disorder. Her insight and empathy would be invaluable in an intervention. She might be able to show Phyllis that she can heal and that therapy is not a punishment but a way for her to regain her strength. Together, Nick and Sharon embody the delicate balance of tough love and compassion that Phyllis needs most. Tracy Abbott, the heart of Genoa City. If Genoa City had a moral compass, it would be Tracy Abbott. Portrayed by Beth Maitland, Tracy has long been the emotional center of the young and the restless, a beacon of kindness and wisdom in a world full of schemers and broken hearts. During Christine's bachelorette party, when everyone else was quick to mock or dismiss Phyllis, Tracy stood up for her. She reminded the others that Phyllis had recently survived unimaginable trauma, being kidnapped and psychologically tormented by Martin Laurent. In that moment, Tracy became the voice of empathy, the one person who refused to reduce Phyllis to her mistakes. Tracy's relationship with Phyllis is rooted in mutual respect. A few weeks before the bachelorette party, they shared a quiet drink at Society, where Phyllis opened up about her nightmares and the haunting effects of her abduction. It was a rare, vulnerable exchange, one that humanized Phyllis in a way few others could. Tracy offered gentle guidance rather than criticism as she listened without judging. In an intervention, Tracy's role would be crucial. She would bridge the emotional gap between Phyllis and those who have been hurt by her actions. Her compassion would create an atmosphere of safety and understanding, a space where Phyllis could finally confront her pain without fear of ridicule. Tracy's ability to see the good in people, even when they can't see it in themselves, makes her the emotional glue that could hold such a delicate gathering together. Daniel Romalotti, the son who loves but struggles to understand. Daniel Romalotti, played by Michael Graziardi, is perhaps the person who knows Phyllis best, and also the one most affected by her flaws. As her son, he has spent years oscillating between love, frustration, and resignation. He's seen the consequences of her impulsive choices, her inability to let go of grudges, and her self-destructive patterns. Yet, through it all, Daniel's love for his mother remains unwavering. In many ways, Daniel represents the voice of the next generation in Genoa City, a man who understands that therapy and emotional healing are not signs of weakness but acts of strength. He would approach Phyllis with honesty and tenderness, urging her to seek professional help not because she's crazy, as Christine so cruelly labeled her, but because she deserves peace. His message would be deeply personal, that her trauma, jealousy, and defensiveness do not define her, but her refusal to confront them might. Phyllis's struggles on the inside have frequently been reflected in her relationship with Daniel. Her desire to protect him has sometimes manifested as control, her love as overbearing interference. She would be forced to realize the emotional toll that her actions have had on the people she loves the most if Daniel participated in an intervention. It could also be the catalyst for a new kind of healing, one rooted in forgiveness and self-awareness. Phyllis Summers, the woman at war with herself. At the center of all this emotional turbulence is Phyllis herself, a woman who is equal parts brilliance and chaos. Over the years, Michelle Stafford's portrayal has made Phyllis one of daytime television's most compelling figures. She is fiercely intelligent, endlessly ambitious, and unapologetically bold. Yet, beneath her confident exterior lies a deep well of insecurity and trauma. Her history of rivalry with Christine, her romantic entanglements with Jack and Nick, her strained family dynamics, all of these threads weave together to form a portrait of a woman who is constantly fighting to prove her worth in a world that often misunderstands her. Phyllis' need for control and validation stems from a lifetime of emotional wounds. Every betrayal, every loss, every rejection has added another layer to her defensive armor. But now, after her kidnapping and psychological torment, that armor has begun to crack. Not only was her rash decision to attend Christine's bachelorette party a defiance act, but it was also a desperate attempt to be seen and a cry for assistance, even if it meant being vilified. The idea of an intervention is not merely about saving Phyllis from herself. It's about reminding her that vulnerability is not weakness, that strength can come from surrender. Surrounded by people who love her, Michael, Lauren, Jack, Nick, Sharon, Tracy, and Daniel, she might finally find the courage to let go of her defenses and embrace healing. The power of redemption and emotional growth. If The Young and the Restless were to follow through with such an intervention storyline, it could mark a powerful turning point not just for Phyllis but for the entire show. Daytime drama has always been good at making people feel complicated, but it rarely gives mental health and traumatic experiences the attention they deserve. By allowing Phyllis to confront her pain through therapy and self-reflection, the writers could transform her from a symbol of chaos into one of resilience. An intervention storyline could also bring new dimensions to the relationships that define her life. It would allow Jack to rediscover his compassion, give Michael and Lauren a chance to reaffirm their friendship, and let Daniel and Summer see their mother not as a source of embarrassment or frustration, but as a survivor. It might even rekindle Sharon's calling as a counselor and healer, giving her a role that is important beyond the romantic subplots. Moreover, such a narrative could serve as a broader commentary on the importance of mental health, especially for women who are often labeled crazy for expressing pain or anger. Phyllis' journey could mirror the struggles of countless viewers who see themselves in her flaws and fears. Watching her seek help and rebuild her life could be both cathartic and inspiring. In conclusion, Genoa City's healing in the end, The Young and the Restless has always been about family, not just by blood, but by choice. It's about the messy, complicated bonds of love, betrayal, forgiveness, and hope that bind people together. Phyllis Summers embodies the best and worst of that legacy. She is a woman who has loved too much, fought too hard, and lost too much, but she still manages to keep going. Michael, Lauren, Jack, Nick, Sharon, Tracy, and Daniel, the 7 people who know her best, could be the key to unlocking her redemption arc by staging an intervention. It would give fans a chance to see the softer side of Phyllis, the survivor who longs for peace. It would also provide the actress Michelle Stafford with some of the most emotionally rich material of her career, scenes worthy of Emmy consideration, steeped in raw vulnerability and hard-won self-awareness. If Genoa City is a place where love and rivalry coexist, where every mistake can be forgiven but never forgotten, then perhaps it's time for Phyllis to stop fighting everyone else and start fighting for herself. Because sometimes, even in the most dramatic corners of daytime television, healing is the greatest plot twist of all.